Hello guys, today I will be talking about a specific video that I found rather disingenuous. So just for your information, just so you know, I have 171 hours on Dying Light 1 and 174 hours on Dying Light 2 because the second game is better. And I have seen a video recently. I believe it was called Dead Island 2 in 2026 feels shallow, but I like to say Dead Island 2 design being lazy, or Dead Island 2 is lazily designed, because that's basically what the video delves into. Basically, the video goes off the rails, it falls flat, and I will tell you why in quite a bit of detail. To say the least, the video is just not very well formatted. There are constant cuts between gameplay, and between the cuts, he raises points. He constantly goes back and forth. I won't name the person who made the video, of course, until this video releases fully. Then I will. But basically, he ignores general points, general ideas of both games, and compares Dying Light 1 to Dead Island 2. And now, I'm going to delve deep into why that is. So first up, we have the high grind. In Dying Light 1, the grind and the reward is disproportionate. You put in like 30 hours into a save, but somebody else who put only 4 hours into their save because they got a modded save has much more progress than you. And that is not just your own fault. Even if you run like amazing strategies or something, you can just get a modded save that has everything already and you just be done with everything. And the basic idea is that you shouldn't be able to do that. You shouldn't be able to just cheat in the game your way and just be rewarded for doing nothing. That's the general idea. The bugs that arise in the game are also quite bad. I will go into them in quite the detail, but first let's talk about some little known facts, like viral zombies DPS stacking. Basically, also known as the viral instant death shred, occurs when your iframes do not work. And it's a very common bug. It has not been fixed since 2015. That is over 11 years that the game has been bugged. And yes, Dying Light 1, I believe, released in January 2015, on the 27th of January. So they had a lot of time to fix that, but they never really did. Basically, if two virals or one viral starts hitting you with their flail punch animation, which is, by the way, a 66% chance, 2 out of 3 chances, 2 out of 3 attacks are gonna be that attack. It should do a max of 45 damage per second on Nightmare difficulty, and it caps at 45 damage after that animation is finished. For a singular viral, for two it would be like 90 damage, but yeah. The general idea is that if they stack at the same time, or something goes wrong with the invincibility frames, you just get a billion damage. It does not have a cap. You don't get invincibility frames. So the animation applies 15 damage per 10 milliseconds, so you just instantly die. Either that, or with two virals, when it glitches the other way, you basically start taking crazy amounts of damage. You take 15 damage in like 200 milliseconds, and then take 15 damage again from the second viral in the same 200 milliseconds. And then in a single second, you take over 150 damage, upwards of 300 damage in 2 seconds for something that isn't even your fault. And when virals do this, they do this 2 out of 3 times, so you have a really high chance of running into this bug when you're playing the game. And that really ruins the immersion for me. Now, for my next point, I would like to talk about the dropkick system. In Dying Light 1, the dropkick system is a rather slow doesn't actually do a lot of damage. It does like what, 100 to 250 damage when you're on max legend level, fully upgraded skills. So like basically full upgraded unarmed, you do like 250 damage. Guess how much HP the zombies have? Are you done yet? I don't care if you're done. Basically, they have 1600 HP, and those are level 3 biters. Biters are broken up into 4 different levels, technically 5 if you count hazmats. Level 1 is the decaying ones you see at the start of the game. 2 is the slightly less decaying ones that you see throughout the story. 3 is the basic level that you will see by the end of the story. Level 4 is zombies in heavier clothes, like lumberjack zombies, businessman zombies, and some female zombies in dresses. But females are mostly level 3 for some reason. And then you have level 5. You have the hazmat guys, not the helmeted ones, not the ones with the explodey tanks. And guess how much HP they have when you reach level 1 legendary. Okay, you should be done by this point. And if your guess is 8,800 HP, you would be correct. The guy in the video names a dropkick in Dying Light 1 as one of your best weapons. Iframes are ignored when you dropkick. You're stuck, you lose all your momentum, and you're open to animations like the viral one. You don't get iframes, remember that. So basically, a viral goes up to you, flail punches, and you just instantly die. Now, for my next point, I'm gonna go into the inconvenient of... inconvenient, oh my god. The inconvenience of night chases, grinding, and the level up system, and the XP loss. Basically, it's ass. Night chases have never been scary. They have been scary maybe the first or the second or third time. Maybe up to 15 times. Okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you did 15 night chases and you found them scary, but after that you didn't. After that, they become just incompatible with gameplay, because on Nightmare difficulty, which is you're supposed to play for 1.5 times more Legend XP, which by the way does not make up for the loss you get, which I'll get into in a second. Basically, it's just a huge inconvenience. You lose all your XP when you die, no matter if it's nighttime or daytime. And it's not just bonus XP. No. You lose your Legend XP. You can lose Legend levels. You can lose your gear as well. And durability. Which is kind of idiotic that this guy named Chases as one of the best things ever. And the XP loss in them is just so stupid. You have to bypass normal gameplay. You can just go to Stuffed Turtle in Dying Light 1, and you can just grind it for an hour, and you can get 150 legend levels. And from that point onward, every 10 minutes that you spend in that place, if you speedrun it, in like 3 minutes, that's like very average time. You'd have to be really bad to get that time. Even on Nightmare difficulty, you get like 2 to 3 levels per 10 minutes. And this also ties into the modded saves. If you have a modded save, you don't have to do any of this. You just have everything. So like imagine this, you're grinding for like 3 days straight, 8 hours a day in Dying Light just to get to like fucking level 500 legend level, and you just start losing XP. You lose like 33 levels. Oh, I have to grind for like 3 more hours because of this stupid fucking volatile that has 16 to 24,000 HP, by the way. In the following, they actually have increased HP, 36,000, which means that you need to hit them at least 12 to 30 times with your weapon to kill them. And don't get me started on mods. They don't actually deal that much damage. You You basically see this guy just running around in full gear with all the DLCs because he just installed a modded cracked game somewhere. Wouldn't that make you feel kind of angry? Because for me it would. Also, now would be a good time to say that the next segment is about Dying Light 2, and you may disagree with it because it's a pretty recent release. It's still not polished, but all the hate I see online for the game is just stupid. Basically, in Dying Light 2, comparing the grind hold on. Oh my god. Comparing the grind to Dying Light 1 is like comparing a goat to a cow. Sure, a goat makes for good eating. Dying Light 1 makes for good gameplay. But a cow, Dying Light 2, makes for very good eating for a long time. And the general idea is, which I'll get into in this point, comparably, the quarantine zones in Dying Light 2 are not as OP. You can't just spam repeat them for a grind, which you should be doing in Dying Light 1, because getting legend levels the legitimate way, quote unquote, is just kind of fucking stupid. Like, you'd have to be an idiot to just run around for 300 hours just to get 100 legend levels. Don't ask me how I know that. But yeah, basically, the rewards in the quarantine zones in Dying Light 2 are very cool. You don't get too much, you get enough, and you can repeat them by going to a safe zone, sleeping again, waiting until the next night, and then going in again. Yes, you go in at nighttime, which now isn't an inconvenience, and you can actually play in. Or you go in during the day because maybe you want to kill some volatiles, like one that spawns at the top of the quarantine zone, some that spawn inside of it for the trophies, so you can upgrade your equipment. That's also a legitimate strategy, which is very good. And the night exploration, which is a selling point of Dying Light 2, which was also a selling point of Dying Light 1, is done 100 times, if not 300 times better in the second game than the first game. Now, how does this all tie into Dead Island 2? We'll get into that in a bit. Let's talk about inhibitors and the concept of leveled upgrades. When you're low level, you can't really access the same upgrades as a high level player, or a player that has been scavenging, looting the open world, actually exploring the world, and doing activities. And you cannot basically just say, oh, this is a bad feature because I actually have to grind. No, you don't have to grind that long. You could play for like, what, 12 hours and have every inhibitor in the game, and you don't even have to have map or game knowledge about this. Now, this is kind of cheesy because you could just take an over-leveled weapon like a level 7 machete like I do, fully kit it out, and use it against level 3 enemies to get everything you want. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The leveling system is very good, especially with the regional leveling system, because it allows for variance of gameplay. A region is too hard for you, go back to the one that is easier to farm. Farm. Unlike in Dying Light 1, where you can't even just get loot, can't get anything done in normal gameplay, because, you know, you get better rewards if you just skip everything and go to Stuffed Turtle. You just have this massive gap between the first and the second game, where the first game is just like a downfall of grinding as time goes on because you just lose interest in it. And in Dying Light 2, it goes up because you realize that it's your only way of progression. Then, bullet spongy enemies and human enemies, like certain high-leveled ones, are locked behind these levels and this grind. Basically, the stronger you get, the stronger your enemies get, the spongier they get. And it actually makes sense, unlike in the first game, where if you launch Nightmare Mode, oh, it's just Fuck you, a zombie with 1,600 health when you can deal 30 damage per hit. And that's just a level 2 zombie, by the way. Okay, I had to pause. I had to sneeze really hard because this bullshit is just making me very allergic, you know? The, also, the absolute parkour in Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2, why would they keep the first game if the second game is better? Why isn't the Beast using mechanics from Dying Light 1 if Dying Light 2 parkour is bad according to the internet and to many people? And keep in mind, this guy is comparing Dying Light 1 parkour and saying it's better than Dead Island 2, comparably so to Dying Light 2, and he refuses to engage in that discourse because he knows Dying Light 2 is better than Dying Light and completely different from Dead Island 2. Now, for my next point, I want to talk about the hypocrisy with the grappling hook in both games and the parkour differences and the supposed skill that goes into the first game with the skip all grappling hook. You basically click one button and you can skip everything. And the more you level up, the more your survivor level goes up and you get to legend levels, you can actually use it instead of twice per like a 15-second period. You can use it 4 times per a 7-second period. And then you can just do it again and again and again. That is a huge problem. In Dying Light 2, the grappling hook is much different. It supplements your parkour, it doesn't skip it. And the issue of verticality is solved by it in Dying Light 2 by letting you spam it a bit, if you have lots of stamina, of course, to gain a bunch of verticality. So then you can transfer that into speed, whereas in Dying Light 1, it's just a skip all button. You just magically teleport to another fucking realm, apparently. And it's at, I believe, not even the running speed that you do it at in Dying Light 1. Dying Light 1, if you grapple, it goes like as if you were just walking through the air, which is idiotic. Now. Since we've went over all the important things, I think it's time we delve deep into the meat of what I was going to talk about. Let's compare Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2 to Dead Island 1 and Dead Island 2. Because the guy stated that Dead Island 2 rips systems from Dying Light 1, which is idiotic, because Dying Light 1 rips systems from Dead Island, which is even more idiotic, because that rips systems from somewhere else, some other project that wasn't even released. So, like, who's ripping from who anymore? You get what I'm saying? So basically, the games are different from the Dying Light series because the main selling points are different. Selling points for Dead Island games are funny, gore, comedy, and not even horror. There's no horror tag. There's nothing. That's the 3 main tags. And for Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2 and even The Beast, the selling tags are parkour, horror, zombie, survival. And how does that tie into one another? Like, how does the genre of comedy and gore tie into parkour, zombies, and horror? How do you compare these two if they aren't on the same basis? The basis is that in Dead Island 1 and 2, the linear combat and the repeat locations are actually driven by the story and the story mechanics, as well as the characters' insatiable lust for sandbox violence as the protagonists, you know, your side, you have an entire NPC just spectrum that you need to follow. While in Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2, that's just an afterthought. You can go run off for like 30 hours in Dying Light 2, which, by the way, I did many times, and just grind to your heart's content. You can grind out the whole map before you finish even like half of the story. You get through the first half, and you suddenly have access to everything, and boom, magically you just, you know, it's not the same game. You go to a quarantine zone in Dying Light 1 or Dying Light 2, you grind for something. In Dead Island 1 or Dead Island 2, you grind enemies or specific loot locations. Not the same, by the way, because you grind it as you're going through the story, through side quests possibly, through side stories, and through those stupid challenges, so as to put, which I don't really find quite liking to myself. But basically, not the same fucking games. In Dying Light, the protagonist is driven by the story and side story, but open to do whatever and whenever, pretty much. There are only a few lockdowns. In Dead Island 2 and 1, that is not the case. You're locked down to the areas you already completed in the story, and if you didn't complete an area in the story, you can't access it. You see where the difference is, and the matter of the problem with the video is. Now. So. Let's just talk about something else for a second. The videography of Dead Island 2 in 2026 feels shallow / is lazy by design, because that's actually what he's talking about there. Compared to the backdrop of already established facts, information, and gameplay features, is just not correct at all. You're just completely wrong. You're ignoring something for an idiotic, just fun. Like, what are we talking about here? You're talking about Dying Light 1 going in circles about how you like its mechanics more than Dead Island 2, when the games are just day and night. Actually, no. One game is day on Earth, and the other is day on Mars. It's just two different planets that we're talking about here, buddy. Now, since we have a little bit of extra time, since I cut down that section by about 3 minutes and expanded the other one by like 12, let's just name the issues with this video. I left a comment where I explained everything. I will post the comment as a secondary below the video so everybody can read. And that's what I'm gonna be reading off here. Dying Light 1 systems are not as good as Dead Island 2. Self-explanatory. How would Dead Island 2 gore compared to Dying Light 1? How would that even compare? How would you compare dropkicks in Dying Light 1 to Dead Island 2? When in Dying Light 1 it stuns you, leaves you exposed, and literally means you can instantly die. When in Dead Island 2, the dropkick is dynamic, you go with it, it doesn't waste your momentum. Just like in the second game of Dying Light, it doesn't waste your momentum, it's reworked so that it actually gives you some momentum, or makes you drop flat on your face. It happens sometimes, where it just behaves like a Dying Light 1 dropkick, which a lot of people dislike. Like, he mentions systems being taken from one game for another, but he doesn't go into details what systems were taken. He says that maybe the weapon system. No! The card system for, like, the upgrades in Dead Island 2... Upgrades. Abilities, basically, on weapons, is completely different to abilities in Dying Light 1. In Dying Light 1, it's not tied to weapons, it's tied to your player character, and the modifications are an afterthought, where they don't actually do a lot. They're just kind of there, you know? Like the rainy weather, or the storms, or the night storms, you know? They're so rare that you're never actually gonna see them used properly. It's like guns as well. You're not gonna see SMGs being used unless somebody is actually mentally ill and just wants to burn money in Dying Light 1. As for Dead Island 2, your weapons are directly tied to what you can do and how much DPS you can dish out. That means that you're actually enticed to get better and more of those weapons, and similar or different weapons depending if you dislike or like a certain weapon, respectively. And that's just a huge deal for me. Like, how can you compare weapons from Dying Light 1 to Dead Island 2? I just don't get that. Also, he goes over the story of how Dying Light 1 story is not like falsely driven by like protagonist fucking armor. In Dying Light 1, there's no consequences for your choices, actions, or anything. In Dying Light 2, there's some consequent choice and action, but it's still locked tight. And in Dead Island 2, your narrative is literally driven entirely by the plot, where you don't have plot armor. If you fail something, oh, you failed. Fuck you, I guess. It punishes you for it. And in Dying Light 1, it doesn't punish you. Tell me, was the Tahir fight even hard for you, or did you just ignore it completely when making your video? Because the Tahir fight is just cancer in Dying Light 1, and it doesn't even punish you for making bad decisions. But if you make a bad decision, it punishes you by bugging out sometimes, and sometimes can just crash your game and just reset your progress completely. It has happened at least to 3 different people that I can discern on the forums, and 1 YouTuber actually. Now, since we went over some bonus points, I'll leave the rest in the description. Let's go into the ending steps of the video. Basically, I'm gonna quote what he said, and I'm just gonna talk about the rewarding and unrewarding aspects of what he said. Basically, I'm gonna read off a bunch of things. The guy said that I'm a ghost critic, basically, by claiming that I didn't watch his video. I watched this video 15 fucking times just to make this video. Now, make of that what you will. Some will call that stalking, some will call that weird, but I call that being thorough and noticing that I didn't get anything wrong, except for maybe a few things with Dying Light 2. Because, you know, I can't really talk well. But as far as other things go, the false equivalence of comparing Dying Light 1 to Dead Island 2 is not lost on me. And the ad hoc arguments, the complete hypocrisy in his comments is also not lost on me. Don't worry, I'll talk about that. Basically, the fallacy here is that he compares apples to oranges and then expects people not to be mad at him for it. As well with the fucking jump cuts. That is just bad faith arguing. You show more Dying Light gameplay in your entire video because you show 8 to 9 minutes of it, comparably so to Dead Island, which you only showed like 7 minutes of. You showed like a few menus more, maybe. But you didn't show more gameplay. You showed 7 minutes of gameplay, and comparably so, you showed more of the game that you're saying is better. That is just bad faith. The lack of purposeful statements from him, as well as when he just basically went, oh well, I might be wrong, but I'm not really, near the end of his giant ass fucking reply to me, just completely threw me off. I was laughing for like an hour. Now I'm gonna quote him. I'm not even going to address the Dying Light has no skill because you can throw OP throwables. It's just so obviously bad faith. He did not name the bad faith argument here. Dying Light 1 has no fucking skill. You can skip parkour instantly. You can make throwables, basically exploding stars, that deal a ton of damage. You can throw 16 of them and kill a volatile, comparably so to hitting it 30 times with a machete, which is even funnier seeing as volatile spam heavy hits that deal upwards of 90 damage per hit on nightmare difficulty. And why? Like, why? He argued that difficulty is important for both games. Let's just go back for a second. He argued that difficulty in Dying Light 1 on nightmare difficulty, it actually makes you think about your engagements, while in Dead Island 2, it's just like an inconvenience. Like, bitch, what? Who enjoys nightmare difficulty in Dying Light 1? I didn't enjoy it when I was farming my achievements. I didn't enjoy it when I was playing through the story. It was shit. Okay, now for the next quote. I don't know why people keep bringing up Dying Light 2, because it's a better game. I know it's a better game, okay, so you know the problem with your arguments and ad hocs. But it came out as this game was coming out. It did not come out as this game was coming out. Dying Light 2 is developed by a different developer to Dead Island 2. Dead Island 2 had 15, close to 18 times of code rewrites. We can count 15 separate times it was rewritten in code. And 3 different times where it was probably rewritten by an update, because a few mods actually broke. Visual mods, by the way, that use internal scripts to run the game. That's why we can name them. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue this quote. But it came out as this game was coming out, and as such, the things that were improved on in Dying Light cannot be expected in Dead Island 2, because they were practically done with development. That is idiotic. Dying Light 2 and Dead Island 2 may have developed in similar time schemes, but they were developed by different people, and they couldn't have the same systems because it's 2 different fucking games, technically 2 different engines if you do not discount the fact that the developers are using different tools and different editors, because you know how Dying Light 2 editor looks like if you've ever actually done any modding for the game, like me, fixing like thousands of fucking errors with the windmills and still finding other broken shit to fix. In Dead Island 2, there's no editor like that, at least to my knowledge. You have to use community assets, and the most you can do is just edit a bunch of textures or randomize a bunch of scripts. You don't really have access to the full decrypted scripts or anything of that value. Now, for the next quote. When I briefly brought up the story, I literally said that both of them are not that good. I just find that one progresses its plot through uncontrived means. Basically what he's saying is, okay, but both of them are as bad, but I find one is better, so both of them are not as bad, is basically what he's saying. The other is better. And the other doesn't. Dead Island 2 plot progression is facilitated by contrivances, and literally every death is stupid. However, in Dying Light, getting stabbed in the abdomen is literally a death sentence. The kid turning faster, I think, is explained in the game by saying that younger people get turned faster. So you didn't even play the game. You didn't even read any of the lore. You're saying that Rahim turned faster than Crane, when Crane goes like 3 to 4 days without anti-zin. Rahim goes like 5 minutes and he turns. Even in the story quest, that is so idiotic. The time progresses by 4 hours. That means he would still have 8 hours before turning. Basically, it's idiotic. It's pandering to nostalgia of a cheesy 2000s typical zombie movie story. Basically, you're comparing a cheesy 2000s zombie movie story, Dying Light 1, to Dead Island 2, where it's just like a perversion of rich people and modern problems and allegories for said modern problems. It's just no, it's just too stupid for me to even understand. Like, how do I even respond to this? Something that's just so completely wrong and irrational, where the person just notices they're being irrational and says, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. Like, how do you respond to that? Okay, for the last quote, I think I'm done responding to your original comment chain. I'm getting more annoyed the more I read because so much of this is refuted. If you actually listen to the entirety of the point instead of the first sentence, I explained what the point of the video is in the first minute. The point of the video was to criticize the game. It was your opinion, and that's okay, but you were presenting your opinions as facts during the video, and I basically went into it in the comments and basically skinned you alive. Not even, actually, I didn't even insult you once, and here you are saying that I argue in bad faith and didn't watch your video in the first few sentences. And everything I bring up is what I think Dying Light did better for the type of experience it was going for, and why Dead Island 2 doesn't. Maybe I could have elaborated on some of the points, but was there is sufficient enough? No, it's not sufficient, because I'm making this video. Excuse me. Hold on. I found Dead Island 2 to have more bugs, but it's possible that was due to me playing with friends. I didn't bring it up because that's not the intended experience, so it doesn't matter to me. So why bring it up in your comment if it's not in your video? If it's not in your video, it shouldn't be in the comment, because you're arguing a different new point, bringing something new to the table, creating a Mott and Bailey and more ad hoc arguments. Though there are some exceptions. Basically, he said that, hold on. It's why I get mad at people review bombing again just because it launched in a state with compute bugs. If they don't fix the issue, then that's different. But the game launching with a few critical issues is not worth review bombing a game permanently to me. Though there are some exceptions. Basically admits his mistake, but also doesn't do so at the same time. He says maybe, maybe not. Says he's getting angry at me and personal over valid criticism and points with no directed aggression at him. Also never mentions what systems were better in Dying Light 1 over Dead Island 2 toward me. Now, for the last thing that I will say, complete fallacy and its logic. Compares Dying Light 1 to Dead Island 2 when both games are different genres. One is a sandbox parkour driven by the factor of the sandbox and the parkour, and the other is combat and story driven. That is all. Thank you very much for watching. Whoever watches this, I hope you find this well. If you have any questions, I will basically be responding in comments as much as I can, although it might not be the best. You know, heat waves and all, just fun stuff. Recording this in like fucking in 28C in my fucking room. Oh my god. But basically, yeah, that should explain some of the confusion, some of the lack of words and everything. And make sure you read the comment that I responded to his original video with, because it's a very important piece. Thank you.